Business owners, executives, and entrepreneurs, get your pen and paper ready and tune in Sundays at 1 p.m. for Evolution Strategies, Business Sustainability and Growth Simplified. You must evolve to meet the challenges of today's marketplace. This is the only show in the Philly metro area that walks you step by step through success factors that make or break your brand. Want some free advice? Call in Sundays at 1 p.m. to talk to your host, Carolyn Lighty, and a panel of experts for Evolution Strategies, Business Sustainability and Growth Simplified.
Good afternoon and welcome to this edition of Evolution Strategies. I'm your host, Carolyn Lighty, and it's a wonderful sunny day. I hope you guys are out and about. Either you're going to church, coming back from church, or taking a walk in the park. Get out and enjoy this sunshine that we have for a change. Today, we're spotlighting one of the new businesses coming to our area here in downtown Wilmington. We're sitting down with Christopher Moore of Pateas, and we'll talk a little bit about the company name and the origination of that. But welcome to the show, Chris. How you doing?
I'm doing well today. It was nice to have a warm environment on Saturday. I was enjoying that. First, I just want to thank you for bringing me on the show today.
Excellent. Well, I like to showcase the businesses because it also encourages more development. I like to show that there are businesses like yourself. You're a young man that's come to this area from Kentucky. Is that right?
Yes, that's right. I was born in Kentucky, and I lived in Pennsylvania for a while as well. Mm-hmm. And I went to college in New York and eventually migrated down here to Wilmington.
Oh, okay. So what brought you down here?
That was a sort of a long journey. I went to a maritime college up in New York, and I started working on container ships. And for the first 2 years of my life, I sort of drifted around without any home, living from my car or at my parents' house or taking classes down in Baltimore.
Interesting.
But
so when you say you drifted around, were you just, trying to find yourself? A lot of people will say, I'm trying to find myself. Or were you looking for employment and were having difficulty with that? Or
I wasn't really trying to find myself. I was looking for employment. And the way my employment works, it would be 4 months on, 4 months off. Or like when I first started, it was more like 6 or 5 months on and 1 month off.
Oh, so my goodness. That's interesting. So in the maritime area, what were you doing? What was your specialty or what was your day-to-day like?
I worked on container ships as a deck officer. So as a deck officer, I stood a watch on the bridge as well. And on the bridge, I do navigation, collision avoidance. And on the deck, I'd watch the containers come over and make sure that the ship wasn't damaged.
Oh, interesting. So, and that seems like almost kind of a dangerous job because I'm thinking about all these big cranes and things like that bring the containers on the ship and positioning them.
We have a lot of safety precautions. We're big on safety to make sure nothing happens. We have our hard hats, our safety vests.
If one of those falls on you, that's not going to matter. I'm just playing.
Yes, you really have to look around.
Yeah, you have to be aware of your surroundings.
There have been ones that have dropped off the container, and I've seen it.
Wow. That sounds really scary. So how big are those ships? I mean, that sounds like a big job for...
They can be very, very large. They can be 700 feet long or longer. Mm-hmm. Most of the ones I worked on had about 4,000 containers on them, and containers are like 40 feet long, so you can just imagine how much put all those on there.
So on a ship like that, you have about how many crew members?
It's about 22, 24.
Okay.
It's a pretty small crew.
And is everything computerized? So you're looking, when you're saying making sure that, avoiding, accidents and running into things, is that all computerized or is that by sight?
It's half and half. You don't want to rely on the electronics too much. We try to make sure that we still do things.
Can see what's going on.
Because there's a lot of things that can happen and mistakes, and you got to be alert to make sure, especially when you're close to shore.
Okay, interesting. And so what port were you working out of, and where were you sailing to?
Mostly,
should I sailing? Is sailing the right term?
We use that term too.
Okay, I'm like, where were you going? I don't know. I think of a sail when I'm thinking sailing. You didn't have sails.
If you call it a boat, though, we get a little insulted. We like the word ship.
Okay, that's funny. So where were you going, and where were you going out of? What was the port you were sailing from?
Usually it'd be somewhere from the East Coast. So we'd go to like New York, Savannah, Charleston, Norfolk. They are all big ports on the East Coast. And then from there, we'd either go to Northern Europe or we'd go to the Middle East.
Wow. That was an experience for you.
Yes, it was. When I first went into it, I wasn't really interested in learning about other cultures, but the more I got involved in it, I found it neat to learn about other cultures.
So when you arrive in another port in the foreign country, you guys had time to, once you did your work, did you have time to get off and kind of explore and kind of visit?
We had to make time. Usually, you might have 4 hours off. If you're lucky, you'll have a day off, but usually it's only like 4 hours. The container ships tend to come in and out of port really, really quickly.
And so what are the accommodations like on a ship like that? It's not like a cruise ship, obviously.
They're actually better than you expected. You get your own room, your own bed, and a restroom.
Okay,
and
that's not bad.
It's a basic quarters, but
it's close quarters though, real tight. I'm claustrophobic. I can't imagine being on a ship and sailing for I don't know how many hours and days to get somewhere.
We're lucky, more lucky than the engineers who are down below in the dark for 120 days.
Wow. That's interesting. So, and that kind of brings me to, okay, so you were doing the container ship, that maritime work. And then you came to Wilmington after that, or while you were still doing that?
I came to Wilmington while I was still doing that, because I was going around for such a long time, for about 2 years, which I guess isn't a really long time.
No, that's long enough.
I was getting tired of not having a home. So I wanted a home. And I ended up settling in Wilmington. I knew a friend from college here, and we got a place together in Wilmington. And I guess I was just looking for a place to settle down.
Okay, and that's good. And what happened when the entrepreneurial bug bit you? What made you decide that you wanted to go into business for yourself? And then what made you decide that tea would be the business you would go into?
At first, it was sort of a longer journey. I'd take ideas to sea, and then I'd lose the idea of what I wanted to do. I've had a couple ideas that I've taken to sea as far as career changes, and I've lost them. And
what do you mean? Like, give me a couple of the ideas.
One idea was to open a barbecue restaurant, similar out of Kentucky heritage. There's gonna be like a Kentucky barbecue restaurant.
Okay.
Another one was I was just going to become an accountant. I was going to change fields.
Completely.
Yes.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, I loved going to sea. It was something I really enjoyed. But I was getting the feeling that 4 months on, 4 months off, I really couldn't be involved in the community at all.
Yeah, it has to be a hard life, and certainly a life I would think is more conducive to someone who is kind of a free spirit, single, not really looking to settle down or do anything, kind of like enjoying the travel part of it, even though you didn't get a chance to see much, but just kind of enjoying being out there. And I'm assuming that the pay was pretty good if you were out there doing it.
Yes, it's a very good, they treat you well while you're out there.
Yeah. Yeah. So those other ideas, it seems like the whole idea of a restaurant, though, concept it was something that you had even back then, though.
Yes, I did. It was something that I kept on falling back to, and wanting to open up my own business so I could, I guess, be more involved in the community. I saw as if I was down there with my own business, I'd be more alert to what was going on around me, and it really opened up my eyes to the world around me that I'd been closed and secluded from on my own travels.
So when you talk about, and you've said community a couple of times in your conversation, what is your heart for the community? What do you see yourself being able to contribute, and what do you see that the needs are as it relates to what you're doing? As
it relates to what I'm doing, I'd like to make people happy through tea.
Okay.
And make them feel comfortable, lighten up their day, and I'd also like to help out just the business. Hopefully drive business to my own business, but in turn, help other people on the block drive business to their own business.
Okay. And speaking of the block, let everyone know where you're opening your tea house. Is it going to be called a tea house, tea bar? I noticed something I was reading about a tea bar. It looks more like a tea bar. I like the decor and what you're working on there.
It's more of a tea bar, yes.
Yeah.
I guess I'm going for something a little different than your traditional tea room or tea house or something. I wanted a coffee house sort of feel, but also sort of the feel when you go into a bar and you have your I'm drawing a blank here. What do you usually call the bartender?
Oh, okay.
The bartender, yes. The bartender who is friendly with you and gives you a good experience and helps your day out. We're sort of looking for that experience with the tea bar as well.
I got you. That's great. So let's go back and explain to everyone how tea became your profession or your business of choice. Talk about that a little bit.
I never really drank tea in my early life. I didn't really start it until the last couple of years to drink tea. I got a cold, and I wasn't really into. I didn't want to take any medicine for it, so I turned to tea instead. Seemed like a good substitute. And also, one of the ports I went to was Sri Lanka, and when I went ashore there, I went to try to find stuff for my relatives and friends, and they sell a lot of tea as one of their big exports, in addition to jewelry and cinnamon and different things. But I purchased some of the tea, and I started drinking it on the ship, and I drank it when I got back home. And I really, really was enjoying it. I was enjoying putting some other stuff in my own tea and experimenting with different stuff I could put in my tea.
So you were creating fusions at that point?
Yes.
And what kind of things were you putting in your tea?
It was stuff I had around the house. If I had a peppermint, I'd throw a peppermint in there. If I had a bunch of hot red peppers, I'd throw a bunch of hot red peppers in there.
Wow. So it was about the taste? Is that what the addition is?
Yes, sometimes it was the taste, or was that spice that sort of was really enjoyable. And I guess sometimes like the spice, the hot peppers I really liked, but I gotta admit no one else was much of a fan of the hot peppers, so I'm still adjusting.
I can imagine that because I guess if it's only a little bit of hot pepper, it might give it a nice little bite, but that's amazing. So Sri Lanka, I know that when I was looking at some of the information about the different countries that are big in terms of exporting tea, they were one. I also noticed on your website you have an awful lot of information about teas and how they're manufactured and all of that. Why don't you give folks your website address, and then we're going to take a quick break, and then we'll come back and talk more about that.
Yes, you can check out our website. It's www.pateas.com.
Excellent. So we're going to take a break, and then we're going to come back with Chris and talk to him a little bit more about his venture into the world of tea.
You can't. Do those magic words motivate you? Has anyone ever told you that you can't? You can't be an entrepreneur. You can't be a business owner. You don't have what it takes. How many successful businesses started without incorporating? I'm John Williams, the president of Inc. Now. For 39 years, Inc. Now has been incorporating first-time entrepreneurs just like you. Over 15,000 companies, from mom-and-pop businesses to worldwide enterprises. IncNow.com, based in Delaware, can have you incorporated in only a few minutes for $298. Inc. Now makes starting your LLC easy. Learn more about what Inc. Now can do for you. On the web, visit incnow.com. That's incnow.com. What do you have to lose? If you think you can't be an entrepreneur, then don't. I'm here to tell you, you can. Plant a seed. Inc. Now. Dreamers wanted.
Welcome to Wilmington, Delaware. At Preservation Initiatives, we bring beautiful lofts to you. The recently renovated lofts at 400 Market Street are a must-see. A part of Registered National Historic District. Featuring spacious floor plans, custom glass windows, solid surface countertops, stainless steel appliances, custom lighting, wood flooring, large closets, pocket doors, sunny interiors, high ceilings plus beautifully detailed trim molding. Enjoy the sights, sounds, and tastes of Market Street. Just a short walk from the Wilmington riverfront, featuring family-friendly places to enjoy, with plenty of restaurants, entertainment, and other small-town conveniences. Wilmington, Delaware, in the middle of it all. Reserve today. Preservation Initiatives. Urban revitalization through historic preservation.
Preservation Initiatives is a wonderful, wonderful gem that we have here in the city of Wilmington. Don McGinley, its founder, has been developing historic properties since 1979. He's had properties in Boston, Miami, Philly, and now Wilmington. If you want to contact Preservation Initiatives in reference to any of the residential or commercial properties, please call them at 302-543-7565. That's 302-543-7565.
You're listening to WFAI 1510 AM. Welcome back to this week's edition of Evolution Strategies, Business Sustainability and Growth Simplified. If you're just joining us, get your pen and paper ready for more free advice from Carolyn Lighty and her guests.
Good afternoon and welcome back. This is Carolyn Lighty, your host for Evolution Strategies, and today we're spotlighting an entrepreneur who is opening up a new tea bar, or kind of a more cosmopolitan tea house type concept here in downtown Wilmington on 9th Street. The name of his establishment is called Pateas, and I want to get into, where did that name come from? Is it pateas or pateas?
It's been said many different ways. I prefer any way that you want to say it, I guess.
To bring you in, as long as you come in, right?
Yes.
So what is the origination? How did you come up with that name? You have a good story behind that.
I came up with that name. I was doing some research on tea after I got interested, and I discovered that Ireland is a very large consumer of tea. In fact, they're probably consume the most tea per person within Europe. And I was thinking of names for the tea shop, and I know Wilmington also has a large Irish heritage as well. So I thought the two sort of came together, that Wilmington had a large Irish heritage, and that also there's a lot of tea drinkers in Ireland.
Yeah.
So I came up with the name Pateas, and it sounds very similar to Paddy's, like a Paddy pub, or Paddy's pub, which I guess also goes along with having the tea bar concept, is that there will be a bar.
Yes. And you're in the process of building that bar. I came by and the place is looking really great. Very warm, very inviting, all the colors that you have. I mean, the environment's going to be really, really cool. I can't wait to have your grand opening. And when is that? What are you planning for your grand opening?
We are planning our grand opening in April. We'll probably try to do some special things for it. It's still in the planning stages right now.
Well, you just take your time. You're doing a great job in terms of putting everything together. You know, before we went to break, you were talking about how you got involved, or how you developed a passion for teas, and it started basically with you getting a cold. And looking for some kind of tea rather than an over-the-counter method of curing yourself, you went to tea. And that's something I think all of us, or most of us, are familiar with. Anytime you start getting a hoarse or a little tickle in your throat, a lot of people will say, oh, have a cup of tea. I had a friend who is actually the host on the show that comes on after mine, Linwood Jackson. He was saying, oh, I don't know, I have a cold. I don't know where I got it from. Not sure if I'm going to be able to make the show tomorrow. I'm like, gosh, come on, just go ahead and get a cup of tea. Put some lemon in it and you'll be fine. So we're all kind of familiar with using tea to heal. But I think that sometimes we don't realize that there are even more health benefits to tea. I actually had a friend that had a tea shop, or has a tea shop, down in Tampa, Florida, where I lived for 16 years. And she does tremendously well. So I have very high hopes for you. I'm sure you're going to do fantastic. But one of the things that she promotes is some of the health benefits of tea. So real quick, I'm just going to go through a couple of those things just in case our listening audience isn't familiar. But if we look at some of the top health benefits of tea, we're talking about relieving joint pain, anything with an autoimmune joint disorder like arthritis or anything like that. It helps with that based on the different types of teas, especially green tea, has an anti-inflammatory, and those properties help to reduce the severity of rheumatoid arthritis and other autoimmune diseases. And green tea, and there's so many different types of teas, and we'll talk a little bit later about the manufacturing and how you get different types, you know, the white teas, the green teas, the black teas, and all of that. Some other health benefits are calming anxiety. You know, when you and I feel this myself. Before I go to bed every night, I have a cup of tea, because it helps me when you're rushing all day, and you need it to wind down. And outside of getting into a hot bubble bath and sitting there for a while with a glass of wine, sometimes a nice cup of tea helps with that as well.
Yes, it's a very calming drink. It I think that's where the probably high tea came from. When people would come home from work and they'd grab their tea so they could relax after work.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. And speaking of high teas, is something, you went to Ireland, didn't you?
Yeah, yes, I did.
Okay, so that was part of your research for the business.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about that trip.
It was a great trip. My focus was mostly seeing as many tea shops as I can. So I went as fast as I could to get to as many shops as I could. And I was very happy to find ideas similar to what my own were as far as what a tea bar would look like. They had some interesting shops, especially in downtown Dublin.
Mm-hmm. And you took your mom with you?
Yes, I took my mom with me. It's always good to have some family support to help you out. She was my photographer for the trip.
Oh, cool.
She did an excellent job.
That's great. And, you talk about support. How important is it to have the support of family and friends and, say, even the local business community? I know here we're trying to develop an ecosystem where we have a whole network of support for small businesses and trying to encourage more growth in that area. How important has that been to you, and what has it benefited you? How have you benefited?
It has been very, very important to me. Like my mother going on that trip to Ireland with me, but also some of the local community organizations. I've spoke to Downtown Visions. They've been very helpful. Yeah. In helping me find my way.
That's great.
And suggesting when I run into a problem or something, give me suggestions because they already have the experience, the knowledge of the area that I may not have.
How did you find out about Downtown Visions? How did you know that they were even available as a resource?
It was actually talking to another business.
Okay.
And it was Entree Donovan. They're a woman's dress shop.
Custom clothing.
Downtown.
Yeah, very nice. Yeah. Yeah, I hope to have them on the show as well soon. And it's so exciting to see all these small businesses come downtown. Again, you seem to be relatively young, and to see you grasp that whole idea of, being in your own business, charting your own path, and with the support of people like Downtown Visions or organizations like Downtown Visions and others, that dream can become a reality. And helping to sustain you is the part that I like to play in terms of the marketing and things like that to help you establish yourself, get the recognition you need, and to put out the right type of branding that will attract people to your business. And so we'll be doing some work together on that. Some of the other health benefits of tea, relieving nausea, again, for pregnant women, a lot of the doctors recommend, having a nice herbal tea, something with like red raspberry leaf or peppermint teas. Those are things that are recommended to relieve nausea, anything that helps with your digestion. I've also heard that herbal teas help you with, sleeping, help you get a better night's sleep, which maybe that's what helps me when I'm, once I've been all wound up all day and I have that cup of tea before I go to bed. I didn't even realize that I was helping myself sleep. I just thought that was my initial way of just calming down from the day. There are also teas that help reduce cholesterol and weight. There are certain types of ingredients that are in the teas, the herbal teas that include like cinnamon, ephedra, garlic, hawthorn. Those are some of the things that improve blood circulation, but they also help with decreasing unhealthy levels of cholesterol, and it also helps burn fat on your abdominal area. So I love the fact that you're doing something that is a love and a passion for you, but it's also a way of helping other people. When you mention community, this is a way to actually help some of your people in your community.
Yes, I love that too, and I'm looking forward to trying to help the community and also to work with other people in the community to help them out as well.
So let's talk a little bit about the different types of teas, because people think, I'll just go to the store and buy, some Lipton tea or whatever, the tea bags. The types of teas that you're going to be selling, first of all, they're loose teas, correct? Loose leaf teas?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. Talk to us about that and why that's important, and what's the difference?
Loose leaves are, as opposed to getting something out of a tea bag. In tea bag, they grind it up really, really into little bits. It's this manufacturing method they call cut CTC. And
does that impact the properties, or the health benefits, or just even the taste of the tea? Does that, is it different when they grind it up? Because sometimes teas are grind down almost to just a powder, almost.
Right.
Yeah.
It does have an impact to the taste. One tea that is ground up to powder is called matcha, which is a special ceremonial grade Japanese tea. So it's not always that it's worse.
It's a bad thing.
It's a bad thing because some of the best tasting teas are sometimes the tea bag that you get. Something that makes a tea bag different than the loose leaf teas is often that for the teabag tea, they've combined tons of teas from different areas to get a consistent taste. As opposed to the loose leaf tea where you take a tea from a specific area. It's a lot of people have compared it to wine because the earth affects the tea plant a whole lot. So you get a wide variety of taste. So the major tea producers who have the tea bags, they're looking to get a consistent taste for the consumers.
I gotcha.
And
so this becomes more individualized. For instance, when I come to your shop or anybody comes in as a customer, you're able to then take those loose teas. And much like you see a lot happening now with coffees where people are mixing various things in with the coffee, you're able to do the same thing with tea, correct?
Yes, you can take that loose leaf tea and add anything that you desire. If you want some ginger in your tea, you can take the loose leaf tea you purchase, grab some ginger and put some ginger in your tea. You can add those additions yourself, as opposed to like a tea bag where it's pretty much set what's in there. Yeah, you can pretty much make your own tea bag with the loose tea.
So it's your own personal tea based on your own taste or what your needs are. For instance, if I were feeling poorly, and I know that I needed something that was an antioxidant or something with certain kinds of other benefits, then I could add those things like the raspberry or whatever. What kind of additions or fusions do you have in store for the teas that you'll be selling?
I have a variety of different types of teas. I mainly base it on the different manufacturing methods versus black tea, green tea, oolongs. I wanted to my first goal was to get a variety of all the different manufacturing methods of the tea.
Okay.
And then I also started to get into the herbal teas. And there is a difference between when we say herbal tea and a regular tea. Like to be tea, it really needs to come from the Camellia sinensis plant. But like herbals, they don't actually have the tea plant in them all the time.
Right.
So I guess for my own shop for pateas, I was trying to get as much a variety as possible so that I talked earlier about serving the community. And I guess when it comes to tea, I want to make sure that all the customers have the tea that they want, which is kind of hard because there are such a variety of teas.
Yeah. So what you'll be offering are true teas, what they call true teas. Those are the ones that contain the plant leaves, right?
Yes, I will be offering those, but I will also be offering flavored teas, herbal teas.
Okay.
I'm trying to get a wide selection, but
to appeal to more people. I understand.
Yes.
That, yeah. So, and I want to go back to what you said about the herbal teas because I was reading a little bit about it and I was a little confused, and hopefully I'm not putting you too much on the spot. But you were saying that the herbal teas don't necessarily have the tea leaf or tea plant in them. So then what's in them?
Good question. It depends on the herbal tea. Say if sometimes they'll take dried fruit and maybe they'll flavor that dried fruit so that it tastes like your favorite flavor.
Gotcha.
And they may just have these little dried fruit pieces in there.
I see.
So
anything, and that's the key, and I did read that. Anything can become a tea if you dry it and chop it up or powder it and then steep it in water, because you can just have lemon.
Yes,
and that would become that's
pretty
really
much,
a tea.
You can pretty much make anything
into a tea.
They call the ones that aren't tea, a lot of times they'll call tisanes or herbals.
Okay.
To just differentiate them if they don't actually have the tea plant in them. But it's the same idea as tea.
Yeah.
The fact that you're, like you said, that you're steeping a dried
fruit or I can't even think of some of the things. Even just some of the spices they'll use and they'll make that into a tea. So I think tea in that instance is basically the fact that you're infusing water with some previously dried something.
Yes.
It's interesting. And who knows, it's mostly for taste probably rather than for medicinal. I don't really know. It really just depends on what you're putting in there. But so let's go back to just where you were just getting started. Now you decided, okay, I'm back from Sri Lanka. I've tried these things. I've infused. I think you said someone gave you a gift which had mint and one of the Sri Lankan teas.
Yes, one of my friends, the friend that actually I got the house with in Wilmington, as a Christmas present when I got home from a ship, him and his fiance at the time gave me this mint tea, and I really enjoyed it. And I was thinking, I looked into who had sold it and stuff like that, and I started thinking maybe I could do this. I could bring my own love for tea that I learned through putting peppers in it and different things. Maybe I could share this with other people.
Okay. And so what steps did you take initially to start your business? Let's talk about that part.
My initial steps were finding out how to get licensed,
Okay.
how to get a business license, and then my next step was also to learn more about tea, to find out where could I purchase tea from, where could I purchase books or other stuff from to give people tea and books and
Yeah, I did notice on your website that you sell the accessories, or the, what do you want to call them, the cups and all the other things. I guess they're accessories to a degree, and books and everything about tea. You have a lot of things related to tea, that not just the teas themselves.
Yes, we don't actually have the cups yet, but we hope to have that soon. But I guess when I initially got into it, I had to, since I'd only learned about tea for a couple years, I had to go learn more about tea. And I'll always be learning about tea, because there's so many different types of tea.
Yeah.
I'm sure I'll always be surprised by a customer who asks me, this is my favorite tea, and I'll be wondering in my mind, I've never heard of that tea. I gotta go look this up.
Find out where that is.
Because there's so many different types.
It's true. So in your initial steps, did that include kind of a competitive analysis of what, especially when you decided where you were going to put the store or the location, what kind of analysis did you do in terms of your competition in the area? I
walked to different shops, since there wasn't anything exactly like in my own area what I was looking for. I knew that I wanted to be downtown, because I enjoy walking and I wanted to walk to work, so I wanted to be downtown somewhere. And I went to the different shops downtown that served coffee, since that was my closest to what I did. And I just sat there and learned how many people that come into their store, what they do for their customers, and how they interact with them.
You know, I'm familiar with two, I think it's about 2 tea shops or tea houses or what have you in the area. There's one that I know that's in Bear. It's in Bear, Delaware, or Glasgow, or one of them that's off of Route 40. And there's one that I saw up on 202. Did you go visit those to see kind of what they do?
I did not visit those, because I knew it wasn't exactly the same as what I was going for.
They seem to be more traditional and maybe more Americanized type tea houses, honestly.
Yes. Yeah. I did go to a place in Kennett. There's a great place up there, Kennett Square. There's a great place up there called Miss Robinson's Tea Shop. Okay. She has a wide variety of tea in there. And
does she have the high tea concept, or is that something you're going to do as well? I know that a lot of the other 2 that I mentioned have a high tea.
I guess her concept up there was more of just a shop where people could purchase the loose leaf.
Okay.
So
more retail rather than actual.
Yes, more retail than actually serving you a beverage. So I guess I'm sort of incorporating that along with the idea of retailing it in bulk, so people can go home and serve it and get it and enjoy it themselves at home with the traditional coffee shop format. So I was sort of taking those 2 formats and combining them along with my own tea bar idea, and combining them to create the business.
Very good. So, you mentioned getting a business license. That was one. Then you had to find a location.
Yes, I had to find a location. That was probably the hardest part of what I've done so far. It took me a lot longer than I thought it would. I went to a lot of different places to try to see if this building would work for me or not. A lot of times, especially in Wilmington, I ran into the spaces were usually way too large, because you'd go from one side of the street to another side of the street. And I wanted it to be a comfortable environment. I didn't want my customers to feel like they were scattered out throughout the place.
Okay, some more intimate, close family kind of feeling. Okay. And so you found this space on 9th Street, and now you're in the process of building it out.
Yes.
Okay, and your dad has been helping?
Yes, my dad's been helping with that.
Everybody came up from Kentucky to help with that?
And even my fiance's parents came down one weekend and helped us paint as well.
Very good. So there's your support system. Very, very important. Now, you mentioned fiance. You're going to be getting married soon?
Yes, and in less than 2 weeks now.
So you're starting a business at the same time that you're getting married. That's very aggressive.
Yes, it's probably...
Are you overwhelmed yet, or what?
No, it's.
You seem very laid back about it, so it's all good.
I guess I've learned to take things as they go, not always feel, because in a business you have to set your own deadlines in a way. Okay. Because there's no boss above you saying, get this done tomorrow or get this done at a certain time. So it's almost like you have to learn to set your own deadlines when you're used to someone else telling you what to do.
Okay.
So I guess, but you also got to be aware that some of the deadlines, if you don't make them, it's not a lost cause. So you got to keep on going forward when you don't make your
very
deadlines.
Good. That's very, very good advice. So you need to set realistic goals, strive to reach them, but then you don't necessarily have to beat yourself up if it doesn't happen.
Yes.
Set another goal right after that.
Yes, because if you spend your time beating yourself up, you're just going to increase your stress level, and you're not really going to benefit yourself by beating yourself up. That's the time you need to go grab some tea, calm yourself down.
I like that. So what would you say are your biggest challenges, or what the challenges you've faced? How long have you been doing this, by the way? How long has it been that you've been in the process of actually starting?
It's been less than a year, actually, that I first got my business license started with the Secretary of State to get the name and everything. And it's been less than a year. And I guess the closer you get, the more you do, the more intense it becomes. But I went to a tea expo in Atlanta. There's a big tea organizations out there, and they're the business community for tea is very helpful with each other and helping each other out. I went there to learn more about tea, and also to learn more about how to open a business that had to do with tea, and also to find some suppliers, to find some people that I could purchase cups from and accessories from, and make sure that I got the best for my customers.
So far I've heard you tell our listeners that you started out by making sure that you opened your business legally, that you had a legal business entity.
Yes, that's important.
That you have a support system in place that includes friends and family.
Yes.
That education has been a big part of getting started, because you have educated yourself through your own means in terms of reading as much as you can, finding out as much information about tea and the history and the different types, the manufacturing, just the entire process. And then you've exposed yourself or really immersed yourself in the tea community. So those are all really good things to do to get yourself a pretty decent foundation for starting this tea business.
Yes, I hope so. I'm doing my hardest to get a good foundation.
You're funny. So when it comes to the financial aspects of it, in terms of investing, did you have to go out and find outside sources of funding, or did you have your own funds? How did you go about that? You don't have to give us details. We don't want to know how many millions of dollars you've already spent. But
I had my own funds, and I sort of wanted to do it out of my own funds so that I felt comfortable that I didn't have, because we mentioned stress earlier, and one of the stressful things is to have this bill hanging over your head that you don't have the funds to pay. And I know it's still going to be stressful for me, but I thought that'd be the best way to do it was to have my own base to start with that I could work with and not have to worry, where am I going to get that next dollar to start up the business.
And that's good. And you were in a great position to start with your own funds. I know my first company, that's how I started. And it's interesting when you do that and you hear other business owners or would-be business owners say, oh, it's so hard as a small business. I was very blessed to also have had my own money to start my own company. I'm not going to say how many millions of years ago, but it was a long time ago. I was young then. I was a lot younger. And I started, though, my business started in the black and stayed in the black until I lost my biggest client. And then things kind of got a little challenging then. But the whole idea of getting it started didn't seem like a big feat to me. It seemed to go pretty smoothly. So I realize now how blessed I was that happened that way. And I would say the same thing to you, that there's a lot of businesses out there that are looking for an opportunity to strike out on their own, but they're in a process where the funding is not necessarily there for them. So I congratulate you for having planned. Obviously, you must have been putting money away for some time in order to do that.
Yes. The benefit of going to sea is you don't have much time to spend the money that you make.
That's good.
However, I know there's a lot of, when I did start it up, I'm still in the process of starting it up, but I know there are a lot of places that will help you get that funding. And a lot of times it's important to have a business plan. That's what they're looking for usually, is a document that says exactly what you're going to do and how you're going to make sure that they get their money back, basically.
Right, that's right.
They don't want to give you money and then you never return it to them.
The other good thing about a business plan, and a business plan does not necessarily have to be 2 inches thick, because I have prepared those for clients, larger companies in the past. past. But sometimes it's just a way for you to understand, even for yourself, the process, what you need to go through, what you need to be mindful of, the different components of actually starting a business and where you need to find resources. And if you put it on paper, then you have something to look at. And then you can set those goals on paper. If you don't write them down, then it's pretty likely that you're not going to achieve them. So you need to have some things written out for yourself. And it's a way of kind of looking at, what is my true value proposition? Have I really looked at this business? Does anyone really care? Does anyone really drink tea? Of course they do. So you've done your research to find that out. But depending on the different types of business ideas, a lot of times it sounds good to the business person or the person wanting to start the business. But if you haven't done your due diligence to find out what the marketplace is looking for, then you might find yourself opening up something and nobody wants to buy.
Exactly.
So,
I think the biggest part of the business plan for me was actually the financial part, to look at the actual numbers as far as I'm expecting a certain amount of customers. Mm-hmm. What happens if I don't get those customers?
Exactly. I'm so glad that you went through that process, because you have to have a contingency plan. You have to also have enough funds to make it if nobody walks in your door. Think about it that way. If you think about, I'm going to spend all this money, for instance, in your case, you have a build out that you're going through. You're spending, I don't know how much money in building out the bar. I saw some beautiful seating, looks like leather seating, really nice, really good stuff you have over there. You spend all that money and you're selling tea, and the price of a cup of tea is X, right? And I know that in the marketplace, you've already looked around and you looked at how many times some of the coffee houses or the coffee shops, how many customers come in per hour. You need to then take those numbers and determine, okay, if I'm selling tea for around the same amount of money, and you have some of the things on the side. I don't know if you're going to be selling some of the pastries and all that other stuff on the side. But if you have the teas there, you have to figure out if that's what my main product is going to be, and I'm going to have X number of customers, how long is it going to take for that to pay me back? How many of these sales do I need to make in a week, in a month, in a quarter, in a year to really start to turn a profit? So
yes, and there's also the side of looking at your fixed costs, because there's certain costs that you're going to have to continue to pay even if that customer doesn't go in. Mm-hmm. If the customer comes in, you got the cost of the tea that you're getting them, but you can go and purchase some more of that tea to supply to them. Mm-hmm. But there's fixed costs such as your rent, your electrical, things like that, insurance, things that you got to make sure you're aware of them all.
Yeah.
And if you miss a couple, it can have a big impact on your bottom line.
Especially if you miss your electric bill.
Yes,
and you can't make tea.
Yes. That would make it much harder.
That would make it a lot harder. So, your challenges that you've faced individually, other than just finding the right place, were there any other challenges that you've run into?
That was part of the largest challenge. You also have to be. I had to learn to be more alert to, because not only are you trying to sell someone and give someone else a service, there's a lot of people out there that are wanting to give you a service. Mm-hmm. So you got to be more alert and make sure that you make good choices as opposed to bad ones, and to make sure you still have a handle on all your costs.
That's good. Very good. That's very good advice as well, because as you said, as soon as they see a new business coming up, everyone wants to sell you something as well. So you need to be able to make good decisions and look at what's really going to benefit you and what you really need now versus what you may need, further down the road. Yep. Real good advice. I wanted to talk a little bit about just preparing the tea, but we're going to take a quick commercial break and then we'll come back and talk about, steeping. What's the difference between steeping the tea and just, putting some boiling water in the, from the microwave and just putting it in there, and what is the big deal with that? And I hear that there is a big deal. There is a difference in taste when it comes to steeping versus not steeping and not using the right temperature. So we're going to take a quick commercial break, and then we'll come back with Chris from Pateas.
You can't. Do those magic words motivate you? Has anyone ever told you that you can't? You can't be an entrepreneur. You can't be a business owner. You don't have what it takes. How many successful businesses started without incorporating? I'm John Williams, the president of Inc. Now. For 39 years, Inc. Now has been incorporating first-time entrepreneurs just like you. Over 15,000 companies, from mom and pop businesses to worldwide enterprises. IncNow.com, based in Delaware, can have you incorporated in only a few minutes for $298. Inc. Now makes starting your LLC easy. Learn more about what Ink Now can do for you. On the web, visit incnow.com. That's incnow.com. What do you have to lose? If you think you can't be an entrepreneur, then don't. I'm here to tell you, you can. Plant a seed. Ink Now. Dreamers wanted.
Welcome to Wilmington, Delaware. At Preservation Initiatives, we bring beautiful lofts to you. The recently renovated lofts at 400 Market Street are a must-see. A part of registered National Historic District. Featuring spacious floor plans, custom glass windows, solid surface countertops, stainless steel appliances, custom lighting, wood flooring, large closets, pocket doors, sunny interiors, high ceilings plus beautifully detailed trim molding. Enjoy the sights, sounds, and tastes of Market Street. Just a short walk from the Wilmington riverfront, featuring family-friendly places to enjoy, with plenty of restaurants, entertainment, and other small-town conveniences. Wilmington, Delaware, in the middle of it all. Reserve today. Preservation Initiatives. Urban revitalization through historic preservation.
Preservation Initiatives is a wonderful, wonderful gem that we have here in the city of Wilmington. Don McGinley, its founder, has been developing historic properties since 1979. He's had properties in Boston, Miami, Philly, and now Wilmington. If you want to contact Preservation Initiatives in reference to any of the residential or commercial properties, please call them at 302-543-7565. That's 302-543-7565.
You're listening to WFAI 1510 AM. Welcome back to this week's edition of Evolution Strategies, Business Sustainability and Growth Simplified. If you're just joining us, get your pen and paper ready for more free advice from Carolyn Lighty and her guests.
Good afternoon and welcome back to Evolution Strategies. This is Carolyn Lighty. I'm your host. And today we're spotlighting a wonderful new business that's going to be opening in the next month or so, downtown on 9th Street. It's a tea bar and it's called Pateas. And we're sitting with its owner, Chris Moore. Chris, again, welcome back to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Great. Let's give everybody some information about where you're opening this store so that I know that they're excited after all this conversation about tea and how wonderful it is and the fusions you're going to be providing and all of that. Let them know where they can find all this wonderful stuff.
It's going to be open on the corner of 9th Street in Tatnall. It's 2228 West 9th Street. And it's just a block from 10th Street or Delaware Avenue, and also about 3 blocks from Market Street.
Cool. And what is your website address?
It's www.pateas.com. It's PATEAS.
Okay, .com. Wonderful. And is there a telephone number that they can call?
They can call 302-300-5368.
Great. So will you be having events there? What kind of things do you have planned for in terms of the environment and in terms of marketing and bringing people in?
We do have some events planned. For our opening day, for instance, you had asked me earlier about our opening day. Mm-hmm. We're looking into getting a DJ or something to show people that we're open so that they'll come and stop in.
You're going to have Irish music?
To be honest, Irish music is not my favorite. I've listened to it. They have some good music, but yes. It's not my favorite as far as keeping up.
Well, you're young also. You're very young, but there's some tradition in that. And you actually, when I bring up the whole Irish aspect of it, because you're going to be carrying some Irish teas.
Yes, we're going to have a couple Irish breakfasts. Mm-hmm. And Irish breakfast in Ireland isn't called Irish breakfast. It's just called tea.
Called tea. So that's... That's interesting. And all of your teas are Earl Grey teas, right? Or a lot of them.
The ones that I currently have for sale online are all Earl Grey teas.
Okay.
And they all have oil of bergamot in it, which kind of gives it sort of a citrus taste to it. It's a pretty unique type of tea. When I first tried it, I didn't like it at all. But then I fell in love with it because it is very different. And I know there's people that have it and they're like, oh, I love this tea. And other people that have it and they're turned off.
And see, I never thought of it having different flavors because when you think Earl Grey, you just think, okay, Earl Grey is a type of tea, and that's Earl Grey is the same as that. Earl Grey is the same as another Earl Grey. And what I like is that on your website, and people can order through your website for the accessories, the cups and what do you call those little tea things again? That you can, the little silver things, you can do your individual loose tea. I forget what you call those things.
Like tea balls.
Yes.
Or,
okay.
We don't currently have those for sale, but we hope to get them up soon.
But you will be able to buy teas from your website.
Yes.
And all the other products. Okay, that's cool. So let's talk about preparing a cup of tea. What is the process of preparing tea?
Well, first you gotta get your water to the right temperature, and the temperature of the water is very important because for green teas and other like oolongs and everything except black tea, pretty much, except for herbals, you can usually use hot water with herbals. It's important not to get the water too hot because then depending on the water temperature during the steeping process, it brings out different elements of the tea leaf. So if you get that water too hot, you're going to get some of those elements that are undesirable. The second thing is once you get your water to the correct temperatures, there's a certain amount of time that you want to steep it because if you steep that tea leaf for too long, it'll start to get a bitter taste. If you like a bitter taste, you can steep it for a really long time. But some people don't like that extreme bitter taste, so you need to make sure you don't over steep your tea because you'll start drawing out those elements of the tea leaf that you don't like.
So is that the main thing? If it's over steeped, it's going to be more bitter? Is that the way?
Yes, usually if it's over steeped, it'll be more bitter. But it'll draw different elements depending on the time that it's steeped.
And does it matter, because I know that in terms of the manufacturing process of teas, you already talked about depending on where the tea is grown, it changes the taste. It's just like, just like with coffee, the coffee beans or whatever, or even with grapes for wine or what have you. So where the soil that it's grown in and the different types of plants and all of that has an impact on the tea. And then in the making of the green teas, the yellow teas, there's just so many different types of teas, as you said, that it has to do with how long it's been oxygenated, and the transfer from being the natural plant when you first pull it off the plant, when you pull the leaf off, to when oxidation occurs, and that's what makes it darker. So the longer it oxidizes, the darker the tea. Is that kind of the way it goes? Or
it's yes, sort of. There's during the manufacture of teas, to make different type of teas, they either cut off the oxidization or they allow it to happen. So like your black teas will be 100% oxidized. They sort of bruise it or crush it up a little bit or make it so that it'll fully oxidize and get that black coloring to it. For like green teas, they try to cut that oxidation off right away so that it doesn't really oxidize. And you still that's why you get more of the vegetable taste that makes it taste more like that original tea leaf.
That's interesting. So the darker teas have gone all the way through. And see, when I think of the oxidation, I'm thinking about it's dead. It's really turns to like nothing but hard oxidized material. So it's more dead. It's dead at that point. Whereas when it's green tea, it's more of a live tea. Like when I think of live, it's more like the plant itself. Like I could go out my door, pull off a tea leaf or several, and make tea then. So that's when it's closer to being the live product that it started as.
Yes, it is closer. One of the reasons they came up with the manufacturing process for black tea is because of the transportation. Because a lot of times when you transport stuff, it doesn't always stay the same over a long period of time. While if they did this manufacturing process with black tea, they could keep the taste the same for longer.
That's great. Well, I'm definitely looking very much forward to coming to your grand opening and to patronizing your shop. If there were anything that you wanted or needed still, what would be the thing that you would want to have happen for your business at this point?
Customers that they're excited about the business and decide to come in and try some of our tea.
Great. And give them some contact information again about your business and who you are.
We're Pateas, and we're going to be located on 9th Street, 228 West 9th Street. You can call us at 302-300-5368, or you can send us an email at customerservice@pateas.com.
Okay, very good. My name is Carolyn Lighty, again, and I am your host for Evolution Strategies. My consulting services business is called Evolve Brand Marketing. You can reach me at www.evolvebrandmarketing.com. You can always listen to previous shows if you go to evolutionstrategiesradio.com. You can also call me at 302-300-1003. I specialize in working with small businesses, though my background has been in helping Fortune 500 companies. I have a love for helping the entrepreneur be successful and to help grow and sustain their businesses. And I'm working with Downtown Visions and some of the other stakeholders here in downtown to help the small businesses. We're working right now on 9th Street to help those businesses out in terms of helping them to do a little bit more formal marketing and to do some collaborative marketing things that will help bring more traffic to that area. We hope to one day be able to brand that area as a fashion district, a district where it becomes a destination where folks can come to shop from head to toe and also enjoy tea at Pateas on 9th Street as well as some of the other restaurants that are over there. There's some fantastic restaurants over there and other small business owners that we've been meeting with that are eager for your business. And I encourage you to look at some of the transformation that's taking place on 9th Street. Again, my name is Carolyn Lighty, and we are looking forward to talking to you again next week on Evolution